Brother Fish, one of my biggest mentor and my oldest mentor, father of 9 kids, good husband for what I know, and was an entrepreneur throughout his life. Did many business and so on and so forth. But how would you present yourself?
I think in all of life, no matter what you're going to do, presenting yourself is a key issue. If you're a coward, if you're timid, if you're not sure, uh, I was raised in a situation where I was a real minority.
Mhm.
I was a Mormon kid in my whole neighborhood, my whole high school, everything. Nobody else was, and I took a lot of flack. So I had to gain a little bit of confidence early.
Yes.
But the thing that helped me is, for whatever reason, I learned early to trust God.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had every confidence that He would bail me out if I was doing what's right.
Oh, nice, nice. So the main question is, how much of what you accomplished in life was given to you, was handed down, passed down by your parents, by family or something like that? How much was given to you, and how much you accomplished yourself?
How much of wealth, or how much of knowledge, or how much of what?
In terms of business, wealth, and so on and so forth. And if you can branch out too as well.
So my father was a man who was in business for himself all his life.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a very narrow view of profit. And he felt like if he charged anybody more than he had to feed his family, that he was not being honest.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was no such thing as building wealth. Right?
It was just enough to support the family.
Just enough. We always had plenty to eat.
Yes.
There were 6 kids. And he was, when I was a teenager, though, he was called on a building mission for the church.
Mm-hmm.
And he supervised the construction of 26 chapels in Ohio and Indiana and Kentucky,
yes,
where we live. And so when you work for the church, you work for minimum anyway, his consecration situation. So I got no wealth from my father. I had a job since I was 11.
So everything you accomplished in life was throughout your work, basically.
Yeah, because I was willing to work.
Yes, hard work paid it off, right? And one more question is, the people you associate with has an impact on what you're going to become in the future. Do you believe that the people you associate with yourself, since you were at a young age, start working, did it have an impact to who you became today? Or
yes. So, and that's where God steps in.
Yes.
He will send you and cause people to be in your life that are supposed to influence you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'll just ask Him to show you the way, you'll meet people. How do we meet? Very crazy.
Yeah, it was very crazy. It was very crazy. Yes.
And it was only something God could do.
Yes.
I mean, you're lost from Portugal. You're wandering around the United States not knowing where you are.
Yeah.
And you end up at my house.
They knock on your door asking to be my mentor, right?
Yes.
Wasn't that the first day?
Yeah.
It was the very first day.
Yeah, you said, I'd like you to be my mentor. The Spirit said, sure, take him on.
Take him on.
Right? No, this is, I believe we're very close to the second coming of the Savior.
Yes.
And that God has a plan to try to get certain things done before He comes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you are part of that, and I'm part of that. And the people that you're going to meet, now you're a young fellow, I'm 80 years old, and I'm about out of town.
Yes.
And you're just getting started.
You're a different end of the spectrum, right?
Right.
You already got to where I want to be.
Right.
Yes.
And so, but God's in charge of the wealth. And it isn't about wealth because He's going to take care of you whether you have money or not.
Mm-hmm.
I've had lots of money at times, and I've lost lots of money at times,
mm-hmm.
right? But He owns it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's all His. And so you're really smart to become His friend
mm-hmm.
and have Him steer you. And if He wants you to have wealth and you pay and you work for it, you'll get it. But if wealth will ruin you, He's not going to give it to you.
Yes, because not everybody can handle wealth, right?
Oh,
There's a lot of people that
very few
become
people.
very successful very fast, and they become very self-destructive, and they end up
Exactly.
losing everything,
Exactly.
and even worse, they become in a worse situation than what they were before, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely. 98% of the world is poor for good reason.
yes.
God's protecting them.
They wouldn't be able to handle that kind of.
It ruins you.
Yes.
It ruins you. You think when you have wealth that you did it.
Mm-hmm.
I've run around with lots of rich people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that luck, uh, and many of them are really nice people. But it seems like their families are just destroyed.
Yes. So family is a good factor in there, right?
Yes.
And how would you consider to your marriage to be impactful to what you accomplish in life, right? Because
first
your
of all,
wife is very supportive of your doings.
listen. I had the greatest marriage in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I married the greatest woman in the world. So you're not going to marry anybody as good as Pat, because there's only one, right? But you marry who God wants you to marry, and you two can, as a team, accomplish what He wants you to do in the business world. Now, I feel like my business experience was to employ people,
Mm-hmm.
not for me to be wealthy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I've had over 4,000 employees
Mm-hmm.
in my life. And I've provided a lot of good jobs for people.
Yes.
And so the fallout that we had some money is secondary to what we were able to do for others.
Oh, nice, nice. Because employing 4,000 people, that's a lot of family that's being held on by those kind of jobs, right?
And in that process,
Mhm.
I've baptized hundreds of people in my businesses
Oh, within your business, you use it as a method
for missionary work.
Oh, nice, nice. Also, if you wouldn't become successful, if you had a possibility, a choice to make, would you choose to not become, or would you choose to do something different from what you did to be who you are now? Or you would, if you had a chance to go back in the past, would you do the very same thing?
In all honesty, I've had some good times and some tough times.
Mm-hmm.
But I can honestly say that I tried to do what I thought God wanted me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've invested millions of dollars in certain things that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have any heartburn for that against anybody.
Yes.
Because I feel like that wasn't the main goal. Main goal was to influence somebody for good.
Mm-hmm.
And if it took losing some money or investing in a guy that went bad, and he wasn't honest, or he cheated you or whatever, it's okay. It's not mine anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe your bank account is yours. I think it's God's.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think it's yours, it won't grow.
Nice. It's kind of a real resilient mindset, right? Because a lot of people want to become successful. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I want to become successful. I want to achieve this. I want to have a successful marriage. I want to have plenty of kids, right? And be able to sustain all of them." But not everybody is willing to do the work that is necessary to get to what they want in life. They go through some tough time, like you said. You probably invest $1 million, and you lost $1 million. A lot of people would stop, not even getting to that point of investing $1 million, and they stop. And it's like a kind of a discipline kind of mindset. It's like they'll put you down, but you still have to have the courage to stand up and keep walking.
Absolutely. Look, anybody can stop.
Mm-hmm. It's the easiest thing to do, right?
All you're telling God is, I don't trust you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Why would anybody tell God that? When you tell God you don't trust Him, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
You got to let God lead you. I mean, how did you get here from Portugal? I mean, God brought you here.
Yeah.
So it's only because you listened and took some courage. And whether you're up or down doesn't matter. That's not the issue. And if you let a little bit of upside down business take you down mentally It's crazy because for what?
So first you got to work on yourself, work on your mindset.
Yeah.
So after you can work outside and provide and help people out, right?
No, I came from a poor family, but we had everything we needed.
Mm-hmm.
We made a lot of money. We had everything we needed. You know, I had 9 children.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, we had a terrific family.
Mm-hmm.
But at 80 years old, I now have 61 grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and 4 more on the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I have 9 of the nicest people, the most well-rounded people, the most loving people, and the most accomplished people that any man could ask for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we worked hard. Now, I worked long hours. My wife was very patient. Kids were patient. And on top of that, I had several major illnesses along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I was gone for months to Europe to be treated for cancer when I was 50, you know, and that upset the apple cart a little bit,
Yeah.
right? If you can imagine. But if you and your wife and your family are a real team, and you love each other and you trust each other and you're all playing on the same team, it just really is marvelous. I mean, I have 0 complaints about my family.
Well, as it should. Well, one more thing is a lot of people trying to, at least since I came here, I focus more because back in the days I was focused more on working my mind, being resilient to keep on going even though times are very hard, and especially where I came from, there's 80% of people in the United States are poor. Where I came from, it's way more, and the level of poorness is way beyond. So escaping that was the first matrix for me. And now, but once I got here, I talked to a lot of young guys and girls, and their idea of successful is I'm going to become very successful. I'm going to buy a Lamborghini. I'm going to become very successful. I'm going to buy a Ferrari. And what I talk to my mentors that are older, they already got to the other side of where I want to be. What they tell me is I want to become very successful so I can have time. Time for what? To become with my family. Because you can be a very successful worker by going to school, but you'll spend all your time at work, making money for your boss. And yes, you make a good salary, your family will go on vacation, but you have to be in the work. Because if you leave the work, you won't have that money to go on vacation, right? So success is like, a lot of people think successful is buying all the things you can buy with money. But what I see is that the older people, they already accomplished on the end of their run is time. How much time they could buy without that.
That's exactly right. It isn't about things.
Yes.
It is not about things. If things are the thing that make you happy, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You're in trouble, I promise you. It's not, I've had good cars. I've never had a Lamborghini or a Rolls Royce or anything like that. I could have, but I didn't. I've had boats, I've had airplanes, and so on that I've used in business and the boats for toys. But I didn't have time to do that all that. I don't want to take care of that. I mean, if I walked in today, I'm on a transaction right now that I could make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Will you see me buying a Lamborghini?
For what I know from you, I would see you doing things that will make people happy. I wouldn't see you buying things that would make you happy because I see like you're really happy, a very happy person. I see you being very happy making ice cream and give it to people for free. So
I've had a hobby for 50 years making ice cream. The last 20 years with more emphasis because I've had more time.
Mm-hmm.
But many people are kind to their neighbors. They take bread or cookies or pies or whatever. I make ice cream. Mm-hmm. When I take that to somebody's house, it's a way of saying I love you, like a fresh loaf of bread. Mm-hmm. But it's perceived. It's perceived as much bigger than a loaf of bread or a plate of cookies because of the love that has to go into it to make it. It does take work, and I've experimented and spent thousands of dollars in experimenting with flavors and so on, right? Mm-hmm. But I can get in any house I want to. I've worked with teenagers all my life. Mm-hmm. I don't care how angry they are or how mad they are, or if they just got out of jail and they think they've been wrong or whatever, I can get in and see them.
That's nice. It's the power of helping others that will end up always come back to you. Right? We're probably gonna wrap up.
Z, you're a great young man, and I think God has found great favor in you by bringing you to this land, having the Lee family and others that I don't know, who've been good and kind to you, but you're an appreciative man, which is a unique trait. Most people do not express appreciation, don't talk about it, and don't do about it. You're always trying to help me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had a bad arm for the last 3 weeks, and I can't make ice cream. And I have 30 kids a week come to my house for a class.
Mm-hmm.
After class, it's all you can eat ice cream. Well, if there's no ice cream here, I've dropped half the ball on what they come for sometimes. And but you've been perceptive enough to say, I'm coming to your house, we're making ice cream. And that's real gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then that's the way it is with God, to me. Yeah, people talk about loving God, people talk about thanking Him and saying their prayers. If you really love God, help somebody.
Yes. Because once you help somebody, that help will always come back, right?
But you're doing what God wants you to do.
Yes.
He wants us all to help each other.
Mm-hmm.
And what a sad time we live in right now, politically, and in the corruption and the hate and the envy. It's just, this is the country I grew up in. But it's a sign that the Savior's ready to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, bring it on.
Bring it on.
Let Him come.
So one last question, just so we can close up. What advice would you give to somebody who's trying to strive to become successful in terms of financial, trying to become successful in terms of finding a family, marry the right person? What kind of advice would you give? Work harder. What else?
Work smarter, not harder.
Work smarter.
Get some education.
Mm-hmm.
I really respect how hard you're working to get an education. There are some fast ways to make money that young people are being lured into today with the internet and so on. And they don't think they need an education.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. First of all, wherever you get focused on your education, you may not end up using that, but the discipline that you have learned to become educated will help you win in whatever you're doing.
Yes.
It's like being a concert pianist. You can't become a concert pianist unless you practice many hours.
Yes.
It's the discipline. So get as much education as you can and let God then lead you. But you talk to God. And along the way, ask God who you can help. And He's going to lead you to win both ways. Mm-hmm. Right?
Family-wise.
You'll marry the right person. You'll discipline your children correctly. You don't know what curveball life is going to throw you. Mm-hmm. You don't know if your child will be a handicapped child with lots of problems that will cost you millions of dollars and hundreds of hours in hospitals. And I have a little nephew that his oldest child, by the time she was 8, mm-hmm. had spent 5 years in the hospital.
5 years is a long time.
Their medical bills were staggering. Mm-hmm. She had been misdiagnosed for 8 years.
Wow.
Right? Mm-hmm. But they've been so faithful and they're so good, and they help a lot of people. And in their darkest hour, you should have seen the miracles of people from all over this community holding fundraisers for them. They were administering medicine every 30 minutes, 24 hours a day to several of their children. And he couldn't work. And she couldn't do it by herself. They couldn't hire anybody, right? But everybody pulled together, and they had cars to drive. They had a house that had to have special furnaces and air conditioning for their children. And it was just wonderful to watch how God worked it all out.
Mm-hmm.
That certainly wasn't the path they thought it would be,
Yes.
but they're still grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Just be grateful. We're here. We won't be here long. We're going home,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to go home with some credentials for what will pay off then.
Well, thank you. Thank you one more time for the interview.